Good afternoon, everybody. And yes, I do have a fresh haircut. I was due, but welcome to House of Bricks Live here from Detroit, Michigan. And as I always say, I'm very excited about today's guest, but a lot going on with the House of Bricks. If you saw our What the Truck movement, I just got back from Miami and spent some time at the Miami Beach Police Department with my great friend over 20 years. Lieutenant Reggie Lester, and the purpose behind What the Truck, hell, I'm still trying to figure it out. But what we're doing is really using that vehicle as a vehicle to raise awareness, not just for veterans, but for law enforcement individuals also. So as you know, I love to test, fail, learn, grow. We took action. We got feedback. Now we're going to make better decisions going forward. But if you don't take that first step, then you'll never know what's in front of you, because a lot of times the things that we think are going to happen never happen. And by taking that action, you're able to make better decisions down the road. So if you're connected to our House of Bricks community, if you're a member, welcome back. If you do not subscribe to our Substack newsletter, you're missing out. I've got 30 years of getting my butt kicked as an entrepreneur in there, where I can teach you a lot of things, how to learn from my failures to optimize your business and your growth, both in your personal and professional life. So getting into today's show, we're going to be joined by Aaron Harper, a franchise expert and the visionary behind Rolling Suds. And the reason I just hesitated there's certain company names that are just badass. And when I saw Rolling Suds, I was like, this is going to be awesome. So it's one of America's fastest growing franchises. Aaron's journey has taken him from Hollywood entertainment scene, which I'd love to hear all about that. Never lived in Hollywood, spent some time out there, but was in Miami Beach, and probably a lot of similarities there. But, he's leading this national franchise expansion, including scaling Patch Boys to over 400 territories, and now shares candid insights on growth, franchising, and leadership through his popular show, The Scaling Podcast. So, Aaron, I want to welcome you to the House of Bricks.
Thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to be here, Adam.
Well, it's great to have you. And where are you based out of now?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, you're in Nashville.
Not Hollywood.
Not Hollywood. I'm sure you've got some great stories about Hollywood, but I did some research on you, but kind of tell us a little bit about your background, sure, what you got, what got you here today, and then we'll dig in.
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up in Southern California, spent 27 years of my life in California, went to college in Santa Barbara, and thought I wanted to be kind of a Hollywood agent, working with actors, writers, and directors, and helping them kind of get jobs and build their careers. Did that for about 5 years, kind of rising up the ladder there. Realized that I didn't want anything that my bosses had, and wasn't enjoying the 10 to 12 year kind of like ride it was going to take to like really make any kind of meaningful money. And also like you'd need to find like the next Will Smith to like, you know what I mean? So like it was very, it just wasn't for me. So I did a kind of a series of jobs, but ultimately wanted to find something that I could believe in and do for the rest of my life that like was meaningful. And a buddy of mine was like, hey, you should get into franchise development. And I was like, what's franchise development? Like, I don't really want to build McDonald's restaurants if that's what you mean, because like I didn't know anything. Like, and he's like, no, like there's like a lot of franchises. McDonald's is not the only franchise. Like 1-800-GOT-JUNK is a franchise. 2 Men in a Truck is a franchise. ChemDry is a franchise. Mr. Rooter is a franchise. Like I never knew that. And I didn't even know that like franchisees were independent business owners that own 100% of their business. Like it was so far away from like my level of understanding. And like, I'm like a well-educated person, you know what I mean? And like, I had no idea. But what I really loved is the idea of helping people become business owners, which is ultimately what franchising is. It provides a bridge to entrepreneurship that like, people who might not have the same level of new ideas or whatever, like that you and I might have, that want to just like find a proven system and execute on it. Like it provides a path for that. And I loved that. I love the idea of it. So anyways, worked at the company he was at, helped grow a carpet cleaning franchise by about 200 units in 3 years. Then jumped into a drywall repair brand, turned that around from kind of like a really kind of like scrappy founder-led broken system brand to, over 300 units. So, now adding, I think it was like 400 plus units in that time span of me being there, which was like only a handful of years. And then the company I was working for was like, hey, we want you to do this again. And we'll give you a title with the word president in it and pay you, close to $1 million a year. And we'll give you a business that's non-franchise. And you can turn it into a franchise. And I was like, that sounds like a great idea. I'm going to go do that. So I turned it down, $1 million offer. It was like, I think my on target earnings would have been like 860 grand or something like that before 401k and anything like that. So looked out across the country for different businesses in the residential commercial service space, found Rolling Suds after looking at about 24. Great family business, commercial, residential power washing company. It checked all the boxes for me. And I acquired the brand in January of 23. We took the brand to market February, signed our first franchisee in March of 23, and then launched our first 2 franchisees in June of 23. Since then, we have grown to 308 units in 35 states. And I have a full executive team that runs the company. And now I am the chairman of the board.
So a lot there. And it's funny. My mind was running because a lot of people want to like start their own business, right? And they're like, I've got this idea. Well, first of all, 99% of people aren't that smart. Like you're not going to come up with the light bulb. So
Right.
If no one's thought of it, it's probably a bad idea. That's what I tell most entrepreneurs. Like if you have something no one's thought about, it's probably not going to work. But franchises, I think, are a great way to cut your teeth as an entrepreneur within a framework that's proven, with a product that's already proven to solve a problem, right? And I think people discount the value in like having that playbook. So it's something, I've talked to probably 1,000 founders over the last 12 months. Not one of them owned a franchise. Everyone wants to be in tech or healthcare.
Right.
And these SaaS businesses, which are 1 out of 100, may reach profitability. Whereas you could take a franchise, meet that entrepreneurial need, and then take those learnings and then maybe start your own business. So it's almost like a paid education in how to start and run your own business with a proven process.
Well, what's wild is it is their business. Like they can sell it, they can grow it to however big they want. The franchisor isn't their boss. I mean, there are standards and systems and processes to follow, but ultimately, like I tell franchisees all this all the time, like I can't grow your business for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can create better systems that'll give you more tools for you to go grow your business. But like, if I could grow people's businesses for them and build, huge companies then we wouldn't need franchisees. And so the franchisees go out, they own 100% of their business. They pay a royalty to more or less like rent the business model and get the support that they need. But ultimately, like it is their business that they can add more units. They can build to more trucks. They can buy more territory. Like there's so many things that they could do. And I just personally, and I think the majority of America doesn't know that. Like, I just don't think they do.
Yeah. And just thinking about the service business and the trades, how important is customer experience in that process?
It's everything. I mean, like one of the things that was appealing to me about Rolling Suds and just power washing in general is the majority of and based on all the research I've done, and I've done a lot of it, the majority of the industry are one truck operators. that do the power washing themselves. Maybe they make 250, 300 grand a year in revenue, and they do all the work themselves, and they have a great life, you know. But like, we're building businesses that franchisees have that they have enterprise value, meaning that they can like pass it down to kids, or they could potentially sell it one day, which takes a significant amount of investment up front, and then on an ongoing basis until you have multiple trucks on the road. And so the majority of the industry is the guy doing the power washing themselves, which means that there's a massive gap in the commercial side of the business. And the majority of we're 60 to 70% commercial power washing. So office buildings, QSRs, we power wash the top of the Superdome before the big game, which is kind of like we're infamous for that recently. Like, you know, but these are like massive like jobs, like hospitals and stuff like that. And what we found is no one else is doing this other than us. No one else is built to do this other than us. So we have such a leg up. But yeah, I mean, the customer experience is crucial. It's everything.
Yeah, I was just in Fort Lauderdale. I went to this steakhouse, Black Rock, and I've been to 1,000 steakhouses. But you think about what really makes these commodity type things. I mean, is the steak really that much better from one side? You know, it's all about the experience. You know, the staff was great. The experience was great. So I think about kind of these basic blocking and tackling businesses like power washing. How can you differentiate yourself from another power wash company? It's got to be the experience. So one of the things that, after talking to all these founders, that I've noticed is you've got like your solopreneur, right? The guy with a power washer. Then they kind of become an entrepreneur, maybe one or two trucks, but like really becoming, and I don't know if you'd refer to them as a CEO in the franchise world, but how many of them are able to get to that scale of multiple trucks? One being A, they just don't want to do it, or B, like the lack of, I said one or B, one, A or B, you know, they don't have the knowledge, or is it desire, or combination of the two?
So we're very, like, before I launched Rolling Suds as a franchise, like I did a lot of just like soul searching on which types of franchise owners we wanted. Because I think the more like, and this is just business in general, the more specific you can be around like who your avatar is and what your ideal customer profile is, the more effective you're going to be at marketing, creating ads, content, whatever it is to target that particular person. So we made a very intentional decision not to allow single unit owners to join our system, meaning someone who wants, and just for those who don't, know much about franchising, a single unit owner is someone who buys either one territory, one restaurant, like they don't own multiple units. And that is 80% of the franchisees in the country are single unit owners. So we do a minimum of 2 units, which means that over the course of the first year, they are required to open 2 trucks in those 2 units, meaning put 2 trucks on the road. Our average deal size is between 3 and 4 units, which means that within 2 years, they are either putting 3 or 4 trucks on the road. So very aggressive kind of like growth trajectories, which means that the franchisees that come in have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars in liquidity and close to, 700,000-800,000 plus net worth.
Okay.
And the reason for that is the commercial side of the business requires longer sales cycle and longer pay cycle. So you may be building a commercial pipeline of jobs for like 4 to 8 months before you start to really see some like consistent cash flow coming in from those commercial jobs. And so you need the cash to withstand that time. And then you also need the willingness and have the risk tolerance, candidly, to grow a multi-truck power washing business. So I think I did the math, like 28% of our operating franchise owners right now are former C-level executives. Like they left a C-suite job that they were making $300,000 or $400,000 a year for, bought into a power washing business, and went full time in growing that business. So like these are higher level folks that we're looking for, and we don't allow anyone to come in that just wants to power wash by themselves, isn't willing to reinvest every single dollar that they get back into the business until they meet their development schedules. And that's just what we've done since the beginning.
So the trades, I had a company prior to this. We did sales training for roofing companies, right? The trades are so looked down upon from so many people, but they're super cash flow positive businesses if you can run them right. And it's a short runway to profitability. I mean, you can be 12 to 18 months, whereas, I've started a tech company, it could be 5 years and $5 million of burn rates until you're even break even. So how do you guys source people now? Are you actively recruiting potential franchise owners, or do you have a line of applicants? Like,
so it was very intentional for me. I did the franchise recruitment myself for the first essentially 14 months of the business. So up until April of last year. Basically the first 150 roughly units, I hand selected the franchise owners to come in. And at one point we had a waiting list. I was booked out 5 weeks on introductory calls. And I had a waiting list of people that were like, if something cancels, I'll move whatever I have to move today to get on a call with you. At that point, I was like, I'm the bottleneck. So we built a sales team, and now there's multiple people on the team that kind of handle that process. But we turned down somewhere between 4 to 6 candidates per month, roughly. And we've signed up about 88 franchise owners, I think, at this point, which is 308 territories that they own.
And so your revenue model, you're taking what, a percentage of sales? Are they paying an upfront fee for the license?
Both. So they buy the territory, and then on an ongoing basis, they pay a royalty.
Okay. So we've kind of gotten ahead into the business part, but I want to go back to when you were in Hollywood, because you couldn't pick, I think, 2 things further apart, franchises and Hollywood. So take us to what you were doing in Hollywood, and then what caused that transition. And
so Hollywood is about everything you've heard of and worse. Like, it is riddled with like drug abuse, addiction, manipulation, masochism. Like, it's all just very like, have you ever met anyone that like is in like the investment banking world in New York? You know what I mean? That like they leave college and they work like from like 6 a.m. to like 1 a.m. and like that's expected of you.
Yep.
Hollywood is the same exact thing. It doesn't matter whether you have a law degree or a bachelor's, or you just graduated from high school and your dad's the president of the company. Like, it doesn't matter. You start in the mailroom the same way that everyone else started, of an agency. And I mean, there were times where I would literally have to sleep at the office because I was worried about driving home and being so tired. You know what I mean? And so like that's expected of you for like a long time. You know what I mean? And I don't know if things have maybe changed. Like, I don't know if like the Me Too movement, but like it was very much like you get clipboards thrown at your head. Like, that's no joke. Like, I was fired 3 times in one day by the same person one time. Like, wild. Like, and I'd call HR and they'd be like, don't leave.
I'm sorry, you can't just say that and not. I've never ever heard of that. So please walk us through that. This may be the highlight of the show.
I had a boss. I won't tell you which company or what his name was, but he would go back and forth from the bathroom, at just like doing cocaine all day. And he had 3 different assistants. One that was in his office, and 2 that were like out on the desk, and then he also had 2 interns. And he managed like a massive roster of comedians. And then also had another kind of like had multiple lines of business. And this guy was like a huge producer. And I was the first male that was his first, what's called a first assistant. Like, normally he had like an attractive female that worked in his office. So that person in his office wrote emails for him, answered every call, which is normal, and kept track of every single deal he was negotiating. And it was, he would answer, scream at the person, hang up on them. And I had to know where every single deal he was working was going, and I had to be able to communicate to him. Very high intensity and very volatile. Mm-hmm. And basically, like, he would just fire me. And then I'd have to go stand out of his office, and he would call me back in because he couldn't function without me. Like, he didn't even know how to write emails. And I'd call HR and they'd be like, please don't leave. Like, the office will shut down without you. Like, it was wild. And so, like, when my buddy was like, hey, like, you get to help people become business owners, and it's really great. And like, they get to change their lives and like leave a job they hate to go do that. I was like, this sounds great. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I was basically just in this like environment that was super unhealthy. So a bunch of stuff happened, and I won't go into all the details, but I got into a very dark place, and I was like, this is like not where I want to be long-term, like at all. And then I got some serious reps in. I went and, showed that I could sell at a B2B sales company. And I was the top rep in the company for that, Fortune 15 company. I did that for about 1.5 years, 2 years. And then I was like, wait, I've got this skill set. Like, I was stacked that skill on top of like, all right, now I'm going to learn how to build franchise brands. So I had the sales experience, which anyone who wants to start a business, if you don't know how to sell, you're going to have a really hard time. Like, end of story. So go get the reps in on selling. Because every business, when you launch it, is all about revenue generation. And if you can't create momentum yourself, and you can't create salespeople to then go create momentum for you, like, your business just won't work. Like, end of story. So like, I got the reps in there, and then I was like, I got the reps in learning how to build a franchise brand. And then I was like, wait, I did the math on how much I increased the enterprise value of the company that I was working for before. And so when they offered me this killer job, I was like, wait, I don't own like anything of that enterprise value that I created. So like, why would I do that? And once I saw that, it was like the switch was turned on. Like, it was like, okay, I'm never going to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah. On the sales piece, the most valuable job I ever had was 18, working for Dan Gilbert, founder of Rocket Mortgage in high school. But I was telemarketer, intern. My oldest just graduated his senior year. He's getting his mortgage license right now. Like, sales is life. It's not just business. If you don't know how to present yourself, tell a story, and communicate with people, like, not that you can't be successful, but especially as an entrepreneur, because in the beginning, you are the sales team. You're the founder, you're marketing, your account, and you got to be able to sell and wear that hat for a long time. I want to go back to, you mentioned the dark place, and again, share whatever you're comfortable with, but we talk about this a lot in entrepreneurship, right? The valley experience. A lot of people want the mountaintop, but you learn the most in the valley. That's where you gain your resources to climb the next mountain. But a lot of people waste those times. They turn to alcohol, drugs, depression, whatever it is. But if you can find a way to make small gains in those dark places, it will really kind of create the next version of you. So anything you want to talk about that experience? If people that are listening, because a lot of entrepreneurs are listening, a lot of them are in the struggle zone. What are some basic things you went through and what you did to climb up?
So I think like for me, like, you can't have the outcome without the pain. Mm-hmm. So like, it doesn't exist. Like, the price of the outcome is pain. Like, no one builds a great business that has like a significant amount of value without a significant amount of pain. And your almost like barometer of like your ability to be successful as an entrepreneur is like how much pain you're willing to endure. And we try to communicate this to our franchise owners, because a lot of franchise owners come from like having a job where they were paid really well, and every 2 weeks, like, they had a consistent paycheck. Like, That is no longer the case when you become a business owner. You are the last person to get paid. And you're going to go through a significant amount of pain. And only because you went through that significant amount of pain will you achieve the outcome. So like, and you learn a lot about yourself in that pain. Like we went from no units and $0 in revenue to we'll do close to $30 million in revenue, system-wide sales revenue this year. This is our essentially second calendar year of franchisee operations. And so the amount of like changes I've had to go through personally as an entrepreneur for us to go through all those phases of growth in the condensed period of time are like immense. And so like, if you're not prepared to at least go through that pain, I don't think you should start a business. Like 100% stay in a job, work in the job for 15, 20 years, stack cash in your 401k, clock out at 5:30, like rise up in the ranks in your career. Like that is a much better path for you if you're not willing to endure that pain. Now, if you want this outsized outcome and the opportunity where the upside is literally limitless, then understand that you're signing up for pain.
Mm-hmm.
At least at that point. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like I say, to the degree of resistance is the degree of outcome you can have, right? And people want to learn resilience. Well, the only way to learn resilience is through suffering, and it's not a bad thing. It's a mindset. Like I don't think about, hey, I worked 100 hours this week, or it's just not part of my thought process. It's where am I going? What's it going to take to get there? And what could I do better tomorrow? Having that mindset. But some just came to mind. You mentioned your ICP, these executives. So I'm pushing 50 now. And I'm only 47, but my kid the other day said, dude, you're almost 50. So now I'm have that in my sights. But the point I'm making is people are living a lot longer, and people get to that 45, 50 age, and they were executives, they led teams, VPs, CEOs even. And then when that music stops, they didn't invest in their personal brand, and they're 50, 55. Like where are you going to go get a job? Like CEOs, their jobs are not just passing out. So like, I think you're solving kind of on the front end of a problem that a lot of people are going to face. They build up these $20,000, $30,000 a month burn rates, right? Private school, saving for college, vacations, whatever it is. And when that music stops, the money's not coming. You've gone through it as an entrepreneur, like whether it's $1,000 or $100,000 a month, when that money's not coming in, it's only going out. You're just watching it deplete. So I think there's a whole opportunity with executives kind of in that 45 to 60 range, because they've got another 30 years of life left. How are they going to make money besides going to get another executive job? What are your thoughts on that? Are you kind of seeing some of those people coming?
Yes, so that is a significant portion of our franchise system. And that I would probably venture to say that that's the majority of franchises that are purchased, at least from my vantage point. And I don't have any data on that, but I think that that's because you reach a point where you're like, I've spent 15 years working for this company or in this industry for a handful of companies, and I've got this much in my 401k and I'm getting paid this amount of money. However, I don't own anything, or I only own whatever percent, or like I have stock options, but like only if the company sells, or like whatever the thing is. And they say, wait, I have these assets. Let's call it home and 401k. Mm-hmm. I can leverage the asset where I have, $600,000 in equity in my home because I've owned this thing for 25 years. And I have a 401k that's $750,000. Well, you can access the 401k through a rollover and into a business, which you wouldn't pay any taxes on or anything like that. You can access your home equity through a home equity line of credit. Yeah, you have interest on the money you bring out, but like ultimately the business that you create should pay for the interest that you would have, and you only have to pay interest on a HELOC for 10 years. You know what I mean? So like really when you think about it, like people have assets and it's a matter of how they want to leverage them. Mm-hmm. And I think franchising in general provides these folks an opportunity to say, hey, I've been really successful at every company I've worked at because I can show up, they give me the employee manual and they give me all the training and I learn it. And then I excel and I create new, processes and stuff. And then I go to these different levels. Well, ultimately that's exactly what a franchise is. Like, we're going to give you the playbooks. You're going to go out and execute them. We're going to continue to talk and support you. We're going to learn when you're doing something that's slightly different. Then we're going to teach the rest of the franchisees that, because that's working for you and your network. And that's how a franchise system grows. And so fundamentally, like, a franchisee is doing a lot of the same things as a long-term employee. They just are. They're using systems and playbooks to execute.
Yeah.
Where franchisees get in trouble sometimes, like, is they want to come in and before they've even learned the systems and processes, they want to break everything and do what an entrepreneur would do, which is just like create things from scratch. And that person should not buy a franchise. They should go start their own business. And, like I've said this before, like I would be an awful franchisee. Like mm-hmm. I would be a terrible franchisee because I'd be like, no. Like I got all these other ways I could do it. But ultimately what you're paying a royalty for and what you're paying an upfront fee for is for that proven playbook. So you could buy back your time that you otherwise would have to do to like break stuff and figure out how it works. Like, we've got 35 years of power washing knowledge and we've got over 100 years of franchising knowledge on my board and my executive team. Like, that's crazy. Like, they get to buy that and pay a royalty to have that. Like, and so that's what you're ultimately paying for. So yes, the majority of the franchises that are bought are typically bought probably by that like 45 to 60-year-old in that kind of range where they're like, I don't have anything, let's call it substantial. What if I went and built a multi-million-dollar business or bought a franchise and added other locations or whatever?
Yeah, I see it as really a lower risk opportunity to start your own business because you've got the proven path, you have the model, you have the support, and you are making sure that they have adequate cash to be successful. Because starting a business is like remodeling a house. It costs twice as much and takes twice as long. So you think whatever business you're starting to be profitable in 3 years, it'll probably be 6, right? But this is a lower risk opportunity, but still meeting a need. Because even if you're 60, I mean, you still have 20, 30 years of life left. That's a long time. Getting into one of the segments we talk about is just the test, fail, learn, grow process. So this all sounded good and you left Hollywood and now you're killing it. But what was the one big idea that really didn't work that you learned from that ultimately led to growth?
I don't think despite my knowledge about wanting to like watching these businesses be ran at the company I was working for, like I watched like structurally how the company worked, how the departments talked to each other, what the responsibilities were for each team member, what I thought they should be, systems and processes. Like I knew all that. And so me going from working at a franchisor to starting a franchisor, like, was lower risk associated with like, versus me just like going out and like trying something new that I've never done before. However, I think what I didn't fully grasp is the gravity of taking everything and putting it on black. Like, the majority of my net worth is tied up in this company.
Yeah.
Like that is a level of risk that you just can't like quantify unless you've done it before. And I told you we just had our third child. My daughter was born November 16th of 2022. I acquired the brand in January 8th of 2023, 6 weeks later, or 7 weeks later after my daughter was born. So when you start a company, it has to be your everything. It can't be like, oh, I clock in at my job and I clock out at the end of the day. Like, it's a very different thing. Like, everything is riding on you making this successful. At your employees' paychecks, the franchisees who bought into you, literally everything is riding on you making it work. And so I don't regret anything that's happened, because in order to get us to where we are now, I had to do that. I made the choice, right? And once I make a choice, I'm very good at making that happen. However, as I look in retrospect, it's like I missed a significant portion of my daughter's first year to year and a half, you know what I mean? Of her life. And my son, at the time when my daughter was born, he was 19 months old. So I was either mentally not there, because I was focused on the business, or I was physically not there because I'm out building the business and going to different conferences and stuff like that. And so in doing that, I basically had to zoom out and say, wait, this isn't sustainable long term. This isn't something that's going to be good for the business.
At least you're able to step out. It usually takes me a lot longer to get to that point. But good.
Yeah. I think, one thing I've just in the things that I've experienced in life, I do have a significant amount of self-awareness, and, I stepped out of the sales process in April of last year. I made this pretty big bet that if I create content, I think that content will decrease our cost to acquire a franchisee, and therefore allow me to hire and build a C-suite and also pay for a sales team in order to replace me, and made this big bet. Everyone thought it was a bad idea. There wasn't one person who was like, Aaron, do that. But I knew that was the right idea.
Yeah.
And, going into this year, we looked at the data and we're like, oh yeah, 40% of our franchise sales revenue in 2024 was from content that I put out online personally. So it was like, okay, that was a good idea. But ultimately going into this year, I knew I was never going to be the guy for us to go from 300 to 600 units. I was never going to be that guy. And so I started recruiting for the role of CEO to replace me in October of last year, in October of 24. And I had interviewed 11 different CEOs. And you really, once the business reaches a certain point, you go from chief sales officer to chief recruiting officer.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't know this, but it is your job as the founder of the company to recruit C-level executives once your business gets to a certain size. It's not I'm going to go hire a recruiting company. It's no, I was DMing people on LinkedIn myself, personally, writing it myself to recruit the people, because they don't have to work for me. Mm-hmm. They can work anywhere. They're investing, their time is so valuable that they're investing in growing your business for you. And so I basically had to learn all this about myself in a very condensed period of time. And there was nothing you could have said to me, no matter what your experience was like before this, that would have prepared me for that. Nothing. And
you made I'll tell you what, I'm not just saying this, you made some good decisions along the way. First of all, making sure the franchisees are adequately qualified, right? You're not just trying to ring the register on franchise fees and rev share and a numbers game, hope some 80% will work, kind of running that model. And then stepping away as CEO, a lot of founders have a very difficult time doing that. And there is a massive difference between being a founder and a CEO. And very few have both of those skills. And so the ability to recognize it, then the ability to step away and take action And then kind of just as we're wrapping up here, you then started to invest in your personal brand. What made you decide to do that? Because that's something I never did for 25 years. Never wanted to do it, didn't care, just wanted to build businesses and win. But when I started the House of Bricks, I have a good resume, but a lot of people have great resumes. So there's different ways to build a personal brand. But what made you decide to do that? And what was that process like for you?
Yeah, so I was very against it at the beginning. And I'll start this by saying I think that most people have a very bad perception in personal branding. I would say, if I had to guess, the majority of the population thinks personal brand and influencer are 4-letter words. And I'm speaking from experience, because I also felt that. Even though I follow influencers, entrepreneurs online, like I was like, there's got to be like some fakeness here in order to like capture this much attention.
Yeah.
And so people told me, Aaron, like, you've got a great story. You're doing something cool. You should share it with the public. And I was like, no, I'm just going to put my head down, get units on the road. I mean, there was a period of time where every 13 days we were recruiting a new team member. So like I'd work from like 8 to 5 selling franchises, and then from like 5 to 8 in the morning, and like after I put the kids to bed, 8 to like 11 at night, I was running the business. And what we saw is, after basically the first 10 months, we started getting some traction on Twitter, meaning like a small community of like business owners or people who are interested in buying, acquiring, starting businesses knew who Rolling Suds was, because what Rolling Suds was, because of some different influencers I've become friends with who promoted us and kind of said, hey, this is something cool that's happening. I didn't have any following during that time, but Rolling Suds started getting a lot of attention, and we found a good portion of our initial franchisees through Twitter. And so I was like, wait a minute, why am I not writing stuff about my experience? I'm the CEO and the founder of the franchisor. Like, I'm sure people would probably want to hear from me. So in December of 2023, I put my biases aside, because I thought to myself, like, okay, if I had an audience of, let's just say, 20,000 people, and they were all people who are interested in business ownership, and we're able to find better franchisees, we're able to, come with stronger national accounts, we're able to find better team members, would I be more effective at doing my job and my duties to the business, right? Like, so would I be better at my job, and would the business be better off? And the answer was yes. And so therefore, at that point, before, like, my opinion on what an influencer or what like a personal brand is didn't matter anymore, because my duties to the business. And so then it was just about execution, and it was just about getting the reps in. I had like 200 followers on Twitter when I started writing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just start doing it. And like, so I just continued to do it and get the reps in. And then like the first time that I actually recorded like videos, like where I'm like sitting and talking, it took me like 10 hours to record 20 videos. Like, literally, I'm not kidding, like 10 full hours of like breaks and like, oh my God, I'm sweating. This is uncomfortable. I need to change shirts. You know what I mean? And like, now I'll write something and I'll put it in a teleprompter, and within 70 minutes, we've recorded 45 videos. You know what I mean? And like, and it's just quick. It's just getting the reps in. And now I really enjoy it. And now I'm the chairman of the board, and I'm going to do even more of it, And so we launched a podcast. We're working on some other big stuff. So like, it just was like basically going against what I thought, to do something that was out of the ordinary.
Yeah, really anyone can do it. It's just reps, right? And you have a way to practice with your phone right in your hand all the time. But I've gone back and watched some of my early social media videos. They're so bad. You're just like, hey, everybody, I'm at the lit. And I never wanted to like have to edit it. Like, I never even, I'm terrible with cameras, video. all that. So I always wanted to get it right the first time. Meanwhile, a great video guy can take 15 different clips and throw it all together. So I've been through that for sure. But yeah, my encouragement to people out there is your personal brand's not about you. It's the story you can tell to impact other people. And that was a big change I had to make. And it's not about thousands of followers getting caught up in that. It's just one person. Everyone says the same stuff. If you listen to podcasts and read books, like everyone kind of says the same thing in different ways. There's really nothing new under the sun, but there's a way that you can say it that may impact one person that day. That kind of removes the ego piece of it. And you're saying something about like the influencer piece. I was in Miami for this What the Truck event. We donated a Ford Raptor to veterans. I don't know if you saw, but the waiter was like, oh, you know, what's What the Truck? And then he looked me up on Instagram and he comes back and he's like, oh, are you like a YouTuber? And I was like, a YouTuber, bro? I've been doing entrepreneurship for 30 years in 7 companies. But yeah, I kind of went with it. I was like, yeah, I'm just a YouTube guy. But, you know, people's perception of value on social media is followers, engagement, and some of the most successful people in the world aren't even on social media. So you really have to dig into, you know, are they really an entrepreneur? Are they an influencer? There's major differences, but
that's like a perfect example though. Like that person was like, are you just a YouTuber? Like immediately the degrading question of like, are you just a YouTuber or are you like a YouTuber? Like, it's not like you're this great thing. Like you just said, like I've created 7 businesses. I've been building businesses, but like people think, oh, you're just on social media. So like, you're worthless. And it's like, it's really, really wild because like, if you think about the people who have the most impact, like love them or hate them, like Elon Musk and Donald Trump, like have personal brands. Like they're some of the most recognizable personal brands in the world. Like, yeah. I think Elon Musk tweets like 30 times a day. You know what I mean? Like it's, right. And it's him doing it, like, and building all these. So like, it's really about leverage. And if you're building a great business and not talking about it online, you're losing. You're just literally losing because your competitors are going to do it. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. They're going to figure it out and they're going to win. And so like I had to learn through like going against what my brain thought that it was a high leverage activity for me to do. And when I looked at the numbers, I'm like, there's literally nothing else I could have done that generated more revenue per minute for my company than building my personal brand. Like there's not one other thing I could have done.
And it's just time. You just have to put in the time and not look for shortcuts. It's been about a year since I have gone all in on LinkedIn. And I'm telling you, it's changed our business, changed our trajectory. I go to CEO summits. People are like, oh, I watch all your content on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, no one engages, by the way. You know, they're like, oh, I've been following you for 6 months. I'm like, dude, you've never liked one post. So like, I'm putting a lot of time into this. But listen, today was incredible. I actually have some key takeaways for myself. It's always good to talk to fellow founders, but I think you're, again, meeting and creating a great opportunity for people to own their own business with structure. And I say that with such confidence because the 1,000 founders or so that we've talked to, 995 of them have no plan, no money, spray and pray, and 90% fail for that reason. So this is a great structure, a way to scale. And it's been great connecting with you today. So if people want to learn more about you, this is going to be on LinkedIn. We get a lot of traction there. So if there's CEOs out there, and the best time to learn about it is when you're not looking for a job. Like it's okay to do some discovery, figure it out. I could even see this. You could even keep an executive job and, scale and delegate this as well, right? Hiring a team underneath you, or do you guys look for like people that are all in?
Yeah. So we need people that are all in. I just I did the math. I mean, like, I think that 9% of business owners make it to $1 million in revenue. So like out of 100 people, 9 of them will build $1 million business, that start a business. And I just believe that like, in order to do that, just like what I was saying at the beginning of this, like you've got to make the business your everything. And
yeah,
like,
I was correcting myself. I was saying this. I do like to delegate stuff. I'm like, I'll find someone to run this thing, but you want people that are all in. That's what it takes. But if
yeah,
you
and I
want
mean, don't get me wrong. Like, there are a few of our franchise owners that have built like multiple businesses before, and
right.
they've brought in operating partners who own a significant stake in the company that makes them motivated to work 90 hours a week or whatever on the business to get it off the ground. But like, they've ran businesses before, they understand equity structure, they understand compensation, they understand like exit value, they understand all these things that like it's just really hard to understand if you haven't started a business before. At least you know, at the level that is necessary to scale. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, like, if you want to become a franchisee and see if your territory is still available, it's rollingsudsfranchise.com. If you want to follow along as I share more online, Twitter and LinkedIn are my two biggest platforms, as well as YouTube.
Okay.
And then I launched the Scaling podcast with Aaron Harper this year. We release episodes every Wednesday. So Twitter is Aaron Harper CEO. And then LinkedIn, you just type in Aaron Harper Rolling Suds. There's only one of me. And that's where you can find me.
You may have to change your Twitter handle to Aaron
I know,
Harper Chairman now. I was just
I know you're this is the second podcast I've done today, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, like maybe it needs to be something different, you know?
Yeah.
It's like Aaron Harper, not CEO.
Yeah, I saw your mind turning. I'm the same way. I'm like, what? Am I not even CEO anymore? But well, listen, thanks again for joining on House of Bricks Live. For everyone listening, make sure you subscribe to our Substack newsletter. Stay connected with us. Lots of great founders like Aaron. You can learn so much from listening to other people's mistakes, testing, failing, learning, and growing. But we're here often on the House of Bricks Live. So I want to thank you again for joining, and looking forward to staying connected with you.
Thanks.